Kairos is the name of a religious retreat that my high school encouraged all of the seniors to go on every year. The whole point of it was to get away from all the craziness in our lives and focus on ourselves and friendships with others. But the weird thing about it was that the entire retreat was basically a secret, and no one really knew the specifics of what it was about or what went on there. I thought about signing up for it throughout the year and finally decided to go on the last trip in April. I was super excited. The retreat lasted for about 3 days, so most kids' first thought would be, don't forget the phone charger, but cell phones weren't allowed on this trip, and neither were laptops, or cameras, or books. But the most surprising to me was clocks. We weren't allowed to know the time because apparently that was a distraction. But then again, I'm the type of person who will check the time literally every 5 minutes, so I was just about losing my mind. So yeah, they were all banned. They picked up a group of about 40 kids total to go on the retreat, and because my school was pretty small, the teachers knew all of us and who was best friends with who, so they made sure not to pick anyone in the same friend group to go together. It started with all of us shoving our bags and suitcases into a U-Haul truck before getting on the bus. Without their phones or close friends, everyone just stood awkwardly around the bus, waiting to get on. I'm bad with directions, so I have no idea where we went, only that it felt far away from any civilization, and about 2 hours later, we arrived. All we could see were these huge rolling hills, and there was only one road, and it was the one that we drove in on. The house gave off a medieval church mixed with a rundown hotel vibe, and there were these trees that lined the property almost like a fence would. There was an old white-haired man, who I assumed whose house this was, standing by the door. After he greeted us and showed us to our rooms where we could put all of our stuff. Side note, the boys had to sleep in the basement while the girls were on the second floor, and the chaperones were between us on the first floor, and the only time we were allowed to hang out in co-ed groups with chaperones, just to give you a feel for how Catholic this actually was. By the time we finished unpacking all the luggage and snacks that we brought, it was dark outside. And even though I had no idea what time it was, I was exhausted. I went up to my room and fell asleep, but I literally jumped out of bed the next morning because it sounded like someone was trying to kick my door in from the outside. But no, it was just the chaperones waking everybody up. That was their system. That's how they decided to start every morning. Another downfall to not having clocks. We ended up having to sit through the presentation and take notes on a bunch of good things and doodle. Afterwards, they told us that it was lunchtime, so we walked to this makeshift cafeteria area and they gave us a bunch of fruits and vegetables. But luckily, we brought a huge supply of snacks, so we didn't starve. But that didn't last very long because they told us that they had a surprise waiting for us in the other room. They walked us to this dimly lit chapel area that was connected to the house, had us all sit down and spread far apart from each other across the room, and started handing out letters that had our names on them. The first one I got was from my mom, and then a handful more from other family and friends. The next day, which was also the last day, we were back in the presentation room doing a bunch of projects, but it was really drafty, so I asked if I could go grab a jacket for my room. The teacher looked at his watch and just said no, which was super annoying because I was freezing. After bugging him for about 10 minutes, he told me something that I wish he didn't. So, apparently we were not alone in this house that we were staying in. All the chaperones had synced up their watches so that they were exact. Everything we did was timed to the minute so that we would never see them or they see us, whoever they were. The house was double the size that we thought it was, and there were these people living on the opposite side of it. So, yeah. After the projects, I ran to my room to quickly pack everything up. Everyone was super excited to finally go home. We got on the bus and headed back to civilization. Now, some people said that the secret of Kairos was about finding your inner self or making unlikely friendships, but I think that the best kept secret was the entire other side of the house. Like, how many people were there? And did they live there, or were they on a retreat too? How old were they? And did they also think that they were alone? I don't know.